You feel it, don't you? That silent agony, that muffled scream trapped in the back of your throat for so long, you barely remember what breathing freely feels like. Outwardly, everything looks fine. You're the person everyone runs to when chaos erupts. You hold it together, soothe other people's emotional storms, swallowing your own pain. But when the lights dim and the world falls asleep, you face the raw truth. You're the support, never supported. You're useful, not valued. Loved, for what you provide, not for who you truly are. You weren't born like this. You weren't born fearing your own voice or terrified of conflict. You were shaped slowly by rejection, by the cold silences of those who should have loved you unconditionally. Nietzsche was right. The monster you fear most already lives within. You disguised as kindness, hidden beneath masks that have fused with your skin. This isn't balance, it's avoidance. So Jung made it clear, what you avoid grows stronger in the darkness. Your suppressed anger, your yearning to exist unapologetically, none of it dies. It waits, lurking until it explodes, demanding freedom. That explosion might feel like destruction, but it's your soul fighting for life. Now you face a brutal choice. Will you keep running or finally confront the storm within you? Because if you don't consciously choose, the choice will be made for you through an inevitable crisis. And here's the hidden cost you've tried not to see. Every time you betray your truth in the name of keeping the peace, a piece of you goes silent. Every time you say yes when your soul whispers no, you abandon yourself a little more. You become smaller, invisible, even to your own heart. That's why no amount of external calm ever truly quiets the storm inside. Because what you call harmony is a fragile truce with your own shadow, and you feel it, don't you? In the tension that lives in your shoulders, in the fatigue that sleep can't touch, in the quiet ache of knowing you are here, alive but unseen. This is not peace. This is erasure. The longer you cling to it, the deeper you bury the self that longs to rise. But there is a different kind of peace, one that comes not from avoidance, but from confrontation. It is forged in the fire of honesty, in the courage to say enough. The storm you fear isn't your enemy. It is the force that can set you free. If you dare to face it before it forces itself upon you, you've convinced yourself that you choose peace, that your calm, your gentleness, your endless patience are signs of strength. But beneath that surface, if you dare to look closer, what you'll find isn't strength, it's fear. Fear of being left, fear of being unloved the moment you stop being inconvenient. That's the hidden wound of the peaceful one. When conflict avoidance masks the fear of abandonment, it's a wound so subtle and so deep that you've learned to call it virtue. But what you've truly done is trade your voice, your fire, your truth for the illusion of safety. From the earliest moments you can remember, you were taught, not with words but with absence, that expressing anger, setting boundaries, or standing your ground could cost you connection. The hugs became colder, the smiles more rare, the approval conditional. And so quietly you made a pact with yourself. I'll stay small. I'll stay agreeable. I won't risk being left. What started as survival became habit. What became habit turned into identity. The peacemaker. The one who smooths over every rough edge, who softens the blows of life for others, while silently taking the hits. And yes, the world applauds you for it. They praise your patience, your generosity, your capacity to hold everyone else's pain. But deep down, in places you rarely let yourself go, you feel it, the slow disappearance of your own self. Chronic appeasement is not kindness. It is self-abandonment dressed in politeness. Every time you silence your truth to preserve a relationship, you deepen the very loneliness you're trying to escape. Because the connections that survive only by asking you to vanish aren't real connections at all. They are cages. You weren't born to be useful. You weren't born to be easy to love. You were born to be whole, even if that wholeness makes others uncomfortable, even if it means facing conflict, even if it means walking away from the spaces where only the masked version of you is welcomed, and if, as you hear this, you recognize a truth you've been trying to ignore, take a first step that costs nothing but symbolizes everything. Write in the comments, I choose to stop disappearing. And subscribe to this channel if you're ready for conversations that don't ask you to be less, but remind you of who you were before you started hiding. Somewhere along the way, you started believing that your avoidance of conflict made you virtuous, that by keeping the peace at any cost, by swallowing your discomfort, by agreeing when every part of you wanted to object, you were being good. But what if I told you that what you've called goodness is often just fear in disguise? That's the distorted concept of virtue, how the fear of conflict feeds the morality of the weak. It's not weakness of heart, no. You are strong in all the wrong places. You're strong in self-denial, strong in enduring what should never have to be endured. But true strength, that comes when you stop mistaking submission for virtue. Nietzsche saw it with brutal clarity. He called it the morality of the slave, the kind of morality that dresses up submission as superiority. It whispers to you that turning the other cheek, that staying silent, that sacrificing your needs, somehow makes you better than those who stand their ground. But look closely. Is this really virtue? Or is it the armor you built to survive now rusting against your skin? Every time you tell yourself that being agreeable will protect your soul, you carve a deeper divide inside yourself. There's the you that others see, kind, easy, selfless, and there's the you that waits in the quiet, aching to speak, to push back, to be real. The illusion is seductive. You think that if you just comply a little more, if you just bend a little further, peace will come. But peace built on self-erasure isn't peace. It's a slow kind of dying. You see it, don't you? The moments when you say yes and a part of you withers. The nights when you replay conversations, realizing how often you agreed just to keep the waters still. The smile that hurts to wear. You've been told that this makes you good. But real goodness has nothing to do with erasing yourself. Real goodness begins when you stop betraying your own soul in the name of keeping the peace. And here is the hardest truth of all. Conformity doesn't bring freedom, it deepens the chains. The more you try to fit the mold, the further you drift from the person you were meant to be. The moral code you inherited, the one that taught you to value approval over authenticity, wasn't made to set you free. It was made to keep you small. If these words are helping you see that, if they reflect back something you've long felt but couldn't name, take this as a quiet moment of defiance. Share it in the comments. I choose authenticity over approval. And subscribe to this space where we don't glorify silence. We honor the courage it takes to finally be seen. You tell yourself that you want peace, that all you want is quiet, stability, the absence of chaos. But if you're honest, brutally honest, you'll see that what you're calling peace is something else entirely. It's avoidance. It's the desperate hope that if you just stay small enough, quiet enough, agreeable enough, you'll never have to face what you've buried. That's the silent self-betrayal, why your desire for peace is often just the will to avoid seeing your own shadow. Jung warned us, the parts of yourself that you refuse to face, the impulses, the truths, the rage, the hunger for freedom, they don't die when you ignore them. They hide, and in hiding they grow stronger. They shape your choices from the dark, pulling strings you pretend don't exist. You think you're choosing peace, but look closely. The more you run from inner conflict, the more you feel trapped by your own life. You become your own captor. You police your thoughts, your words, your needs, convinced that this is what it means to be good. But inside, something else is happening. The shadow you deny starts to rule you in ways you can't control. You lash out at the wrong moments. You stay silent when you should speak. You sabotage what matters most because some part of you, the part you locked away, is trying to break out. The tragedy is this. In trying so hard not to hurt anyone else, you end up hurting yourself the most. And slowly, that hurt spills over. The storm you refuse to face turns inward, and you become the one who keeps yourself small, who clips your own wings, who builds the walls that keep you isolated. What you fear isn't the conflict. What you fear is what the conflict will reveal. But hiding from it hasn't saved you. It's only made the shadow stronger. And if this is resonating, if you're seeing this truth in your own reflection, take a breath and let it in. The first act of freedom is daring to look. You've spent so long avoiding conflict that you've started to believe it's the enemy. That if you could just keep things smooth, if you could avoid the arguments, the discomfort, the messy truths, you'd finally be at peace. But what if the very thing you run from is the thing you need the most? What if the symbolic rupture, the conflict as the necessary crucible for individuation, is where your real self is waiting to be born? Conflict isn't destruction. It's purification. It's the fire that burns away the masks you've worn for so long you forgot what your real face looks like. You think the battles you avoid are about the people around you, but they never were. The true battle has always been within. The fight between the part of you desperate to belong and the part of you that longs to be free. And that war won't end because you ignore it. It will end the moment you choose a side. The person you were meant to be doesn't emerge from endless compromise. They rise in the moments when you stop negotiating with your own truth, when you stop bartering your soul for comfort. The false peace you've clung to has cost you too much. It's cost you clarity. It's cost you strength, but most of all, it's cost you yourself. Think of the conflict you've avoided like a fire. Yes, it burns. Yes, it destroys the things that were never real to begin with. But it also clears the ground so that something new can grow. That's the crucible, the place where the old you melts away, and what remains is raw, authentic, untamed. The version of you that doesn't need to beg for acceptance. This is the path of individuation. The place where you stop playing the roles handed to you and start carving your own shape in the world. It's not easy. The fire hurts. The rupture feels like loss at first. But what you're losing isn't yourself. Here's everything that kept you from knowing who you really are. So let the conflict come, not to destroy you, but to free you. Let it burn away what was false so that what's real can finally breathe. The warrior you've been looking for isn't out there. It's been waiting inside, patient, quiet, ready. Not to fight the world, but to fight for you. You've heard the word rupture, and maybe it scares you. Because rupture sounds like breaking, like something final, something that leaves ruins behind. But what if you saw it differently? What if you understood that learning the discipline of constructive rupture isn't about destruction, but about finally stepping out of the prison you've lived in for too long? We're not talking about grand, dramatic gestures. The kind of rupture that changes your life often starts small. It begins in moments so subtle that no one notices, except you. Like the first time you say no and don't rush to explain yourself. Like the day you stop apologizing for simply existing the way you are. Like the moment you feel the urge to shrink back, to make yourself invisible, and instead, you stay still. Stay whole. This is a discipline. Because it takes practice to break patterns that have shaped you for years. It takes intention to choose discomfort over compliance. But every time you do, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was given away too easily. These small acts are not loud, but they are powerful. They're how you start teaching yourself that you're allowed to take up space. That your truth matters, even if it unsettles others. And here's what's most important. This is not about becoming combative. It's about becoming honest. It's about seeing the moments where you choose silence out of fear and instead choosing voice. Seeing the times you bend your will for harmony and instead choosing alignment. These are the micro moments that shape whether you live for approval or for authenticity. It won't feel natural at first. You'll feel guilt. You'll feel exposed. But over time, what once felt like rebellion will start to feel like coming home. This is the real work. Not tearing down the world around you, but rebuilding the relationship you have with yourself. One boundary at a time, one truth at a time. For so long they taught you to be the sheep, to follow, to be gentle, to keep your head down, to stay inside lines that were drawn long before you were born. But if you're quiet now, if you really listen, you'll hear it. The part of you that never agreed to that, because you are not the sheep in the field. You are the wolf they taught you to fear. And it's time to stop running from that. Truth, this isn't about becoming ruthless or hard. It's about understanding what was locked away inside you all these years. The predator within isn't a monster. It's your will, it's your hunger to be real, to exist fully without apology. They taught you to fear that hunger because people who know their own power are harder to control. People who stand in their truth are harder to manipulate, so they tamed you. With guilt, with rules dressed up as morals, with stories that said wanting more was dangerous, that speaking too loud made you bad. But here's what they never told you. That wolf you've been Taught to silence is not here to harm anyone. It's here to protect what's sacred in you. It's here to remind you that submission is not your natural state, that you were born with teeth, not to hurt the world, but to stop it from swallowing you whole. And reclaiming that power doesn't mean dominating others. It means no longer surrendering yourself to people who only love you when you're quiet. It means standing firm when everything in you wants to fold. It means looking at the values you inherited and asking, are these mine, or were they given to me to keep me small? When you stop fearing the wolf, you stop fearing yourself, and that's where freedom begins. Not in controlling the world, but in no longer needing its permission to be who you are. This is not a call to aggression. It's a call to remembrance. To meet the part of you that was never broken, just hidden. If you feel that, if you're ready to stop pretending you're something smaller than you are, let this be your first step. Write in the comments, I will no longer cage my truth, and join this space, and not for approval, but as a quiet promise to yourself that you won't keep living on your knees. There's something no one tells you at the beginning of this journey. The freedom you're looking for doesn't come when the conflict ends. It comes when you stop running from it. In the lens of Jung, individuation, becoming who you truly are, doesn't happen by eliminating what divides you inside. It happens at the very edge of that division, in the place where your fear meets your desire, where the voice that wants to stay hidden meets the one that longs to be heard. The self isn't born in comfort. The self is born in the fire, in the tension between what you've been taught to be and what you truly are. That's where you find the raw material of who you are meant to become. Nietzsche said it without mercy. The true freedom belongs to those who can endure the chaos of becoming, and that chaos is not your enemy. It's the soil where your truth can finally take root. The part of you that you've silenced, that you've minimized in the name of keeping the peace, that part will not stay quiet forever. You can choose to face it with intention, or you can wait until it bursts through as crisis. But it will come, because what is real in you always demands to be lived. So if these words stayed with you, if they helped you see yourself in ways you've tried to avoid, take a small action that honors that clarity. Leave a comment, not for me, but for you. Write, I choose to face my truth. Let it be your first act of stepping out of the silence. And if you want to keep walking this path with us, subscribe. This is not just a channel, it's a place where we remember that strength was never about pleasing the world. It was always about the courage to be whole, because at the end of it all, the question remains, will you stay hidden, or will you finally meet yourself where your fear and your truth collide? The choice, as always, is yours.